That sappy is just a little bit more like a richness and a glycerin kind of sappiness to them. Russian River Valley also tends to have that similar type sappiness, but this beautiful Sonoma, a little bit more bright fruit, and a nice acid profile in Sonoma County Pinot.
Got time for a question, Ian?
Mm-hmm.
So here's a question from one of our viewers. Teresa Johnson asks, how do you pair wine and food?
All right.
That's got to be something that everybody wants.
Exactly. Well, the days of old, the old white with fish, red with red meat have changed consistently. And Teresa, right? Teresa? Teresa. The whole wine and food pairing is basically toned down a little bit these days with all the influence of food fusion of different types of cuisines. You have multicultural type foods that are coming about. The best possible pairing is say for locally done things. So like say if you go to Europe and you are in the south of France, you want to drink the wines from the particular region with the food that's served in that region. If you're cooking more of a food fusion where you have like, you know, French haute cuisine mixes with Vietnamese food or something like that, well obviously your regional characteristics are going to be thrown out the window. So you're not going to be drinking your you know, your similar local type wines, but that are from that particular area. But you'll now have to take it to a different level. While that can seem daunting, it's actually fairly simple. Back when I was talking about the body of a wine, I talked about the weight of a wine. The weight of the wine, essentially, think of like milk. You have light, medium, and full-bodied in terms of weight and how it sits and presses the palate. So, like, you know, 2% milk would be very, you know, medium-bodied. Heavy milk would be, you know, the full whole milk would be full-bodied, and skim milk would be light-bodied. So you have 3 different weights on the palate. The wines are the same way. Each wine that you taste will have a similar weight. So like Pinot Noir is light bodied. You would want to go with light type food. So things like chicken, you could go with actually a deeper fish like a salmon. Salmon and Pinot Noir are very good because you have a full-bodied fish, but it's a fish, and then a light-bodied red tend to work well. So that whole, you know, white with fish, red with red meat can be shot out the window. As long as you match the weight of the food to the weight of the wine, you're pretty much going to get it right probably 90% of the time. There are a few other things that you have to think about: sugar, acid, tannin, and things of that nature. The acidity is that mouth-watering, you know, prickliness on the tongue. The tannin is that mouth-drying type astringency, that mouth-puckering kind of thing, like when you were a kid and you know, you ate a grape and then you accidentally bit the seed. That real impressive drying, that's astringency. And a lot of thick-skinned red varietals have that. So Cabernet Sauvignon, you know, certain Petit Verdot, Petit Syrah, they tend to have that chewy factor, that real mouth-drying type factor. So as long as you match the weight of the food with the weight of the wine, you know, lobster, you think of Chardonnay, big, rich whites, Roussanne, Chardonnay, stuff like that, possibly Viognier, depending on how that's done. Red meats, when you mix a big, heavy red with red meat, the fat that's in the meat, like say a marbled New York strip, is really going to soften the tannins in a big, intense Cabernet Sauvignon, making the wine taste better and also making the food taste better. For the pairing to work, it's got to affect both the wine and the food and make each of them a better experience than it was originally. So, and then one last thing is the wine generally has to be sweeter than the food. If the wine's a little bit sweeter than the food, it's not going to kill the flavor of the wine. If the food's sweeter than the wine, it will flatten out the wine and you won't get the full flavor of the wine. It'll taste really flat and dull. So that's just a quick food and wine type understanding.
Got time for another one?
I did.
Okay, so Lisa Thomas asks, is decanting important? And I bet you there's a bunch of people out there watching who have no idea what decanting is, so maybe you ought to explain that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Decanting is very simple. There's 2 reasons to decant a wine: to remove the sediment from an older wine or to aerate a younger wine. And it can be important if you open up a wine and it is big and powerful and super young, like a you know heavy, 2007 cab. If it was around 2008, 2009, they've kind of softened a little bit now. But if it's a big, heavy tannic wine, you can put it with some time in the air, and what that's going to do is fake the aging process per se. That's going to really allow the wine to open up and to kind of flesh out to where it is softer and it softens just like an aged wine would do. But at decanting, when you're decanting a young wine, you don't want to do it all gently. You want to take the wine and just glosh it into the decanter, swirl it around pretty heavy, give it about 20 minutes and it'll be better. For an older wine, you would take the wine and set it upright for about 2 days. If you know it's like a 10, 20-year-old wine, you would set it upright for like 2 days, and then you would take it and it would form a crust on the bottom of the wine. You would take a lighter or a flame or a flashlight, put it underneath, and start pouring until the sediment comes up right to the neck of the bottle. Then you stop, and then the wine that you have in the decanter is perfect, ready to drink, or at least ready to be enjoyed as far as separating from sediment. And then the stuff that's in the bottom, you can filter that through a coffee filter and then pour that in another glass. Don't pour it into your actual decanted wine, because that will sacrifice the integrity of the decanted wine. All right.
Okay, no, that's it for now.
All right, very cool. All right, next we're going to go to a little bit richer wine, well, a little bit richer in terms of dryness and weight over Pinot. This is another thin-skinned grape varietal. This is Chiachi di Piccolomini di Aragona. Chiachi Piccolomini di Aragona is a estate in Tuscany, and is actually, you know, not a wine that, you know, other great Tuscan wines that you find are Chiantis, things like that. But in Tuscany, Sangiovese is king. Sangiovese is another thin-skinned grape varietal, but this one has a little bit of cab, just a hair touch of Cabernet Sauvignon and Syrah in it. So it's got a little bit more depth of color, but it's still lighter than most reds, with a slight garnet edge to it. It's starting to get a little bit of bottle age. It's from the 2007 vintage, hence 3 years old now, and a pretty neat and interesting wine. As I smell it here, I definitely smell Italy. It's totally got the dried red fruits end of the spectrum, real plush, real polished, you know, which 07 was a warmer vintage, so definitely got some plush, polished qualities. A little bit of cherries, dried red fruits, nice persistent aftertaste, definitely good with pizza pasta because it has a nice high acidity to it. The higher acid wines definitely go with the higher acid foods. So if you match those acidities, they kind of work well. So a nice rich robust tomato sauce with a good Sangiovese is going to make the wine taste sweeter and the food taste more savory. So that'll be a beautiful thing. And then I'm also going to go next to a Heartland Stickleback Shiraz. This is actually Shiraz, Cab, Dolcetto, and Langrian. Dolcetto is from Italy, northwest Italy. Langrian is from Alto Adige, which is in northeast Italy. Cabernet Sauvignon, international variety, and Shiraz, definitely Australia's little gem to the world. Again, richer, deeper, more purple hue here. You're getting a lot more depth and structure on the nose. I'm getting that woodsy type flavor I was telling you about, a little bit of vanilla and caramel. And definitely a really deeper smelling wine. Again, just like Shiraz should be. Rich, plush, blueberries, blackberries, blueberries, a little bit of currant. The Cabernet Sauvignon gives it like a currant type flavor, and then the blueberry from the Shiraz, and then it's got a nice little acidity level from the Langrian and the Dolcetto, being the Italian grape varietals. Now, this is an Ancient Peaks Cabernet Sauvignon, last wine today. This is from Paso Robles. Paso Robles, nice little value alternative to Napa Valley Reds. Paso Robles tends to have a little bit more meaty, weighty structure than, say, like a smooth, you know, heavy, deep fruit-tasting Napa Valley Cab. These tend to offer tremendous values. I think for this wine, runs about $17 a bottle. For the equivalent Napa Valley wine, you'd probably have to spend about $34 or $35 to get the same flavors out of a good Napa Valley wine. But again, deep, dark, rich color. It really sticks to the glass and really colors the glass because you can kind of even see that there. It definitely sticks to. It's got some real rich type qualities. That's a higher glycerin level that's in Cab. Again, your black currant type flavors are total Cabernet Sauvignon, cedary, fruity, fruit-driven, but yet this little subdued meatiness underneath. Flavor-wise, much more rich, intense. The mouthfeel is much more full-bodied. This one's probably medium plus to almost completely full-bodied, but very, very nice little Cabernet Sauvignon here from Paso Robles area, and from a great vintage again, 2007 in the California. They were really, really great wines produced in 2007. Definitely a huge fan of the vintage. I think Zinfandels, Cabernet Sauvignons, Chardonnays in 2007. I mean, monumental vintage. If you haven't stocked up on those, definitely try to grab some because really a world-class vintage. So, all right.